What's the word, fam? Back again to give y'all a little recap on my last trip to Namibia. First, I gotta start off and let you see, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Wilma, she blessed me with this. One of the dope gifts she gave me, you know what I'm saying? Personalized it. So Wilma snapped, cause not only did she get this shirt custom made for me, but she even got me a matching hat, you know what I'm saying? So shout out to Wilma, man. Unfortunately, since I'm from Chicago, you know, I can't really wear it how I like. So I'm the type, I'd rather rock my hat to the right or to the left or something, you know. Can't really do that in my city, because that's how the gangs represent. That's how you know what gang they in, if it's the right or the left. So I'm gonna have to leave this off for safety purposes, but I appreciate you, man. I really like the gift. So we here at Eat to Live on 67 between King Drive and Cottage Grove. A dope black-owned restaurant. I'm gonna feature it in the food tour when I go around Chicago, so y'all can really get a chance to see what it's like when it's full. You know, they usually pretty packed. They do good business in here. But I came, you know, soon as they open, hoping that I could get a little freedom and a little quiet time to do this video. So shout out to Eat to Live. First, I gotta say rest in peace to Sam Nujoma. The president died like right before I got out there to Namibia. He was the first president the country ever had. He served from 1990 up to 2005. So rest in peace to the brother. And he was a founding member and the first president of SWAPO. So, you know, I met some Namibians who wasn't a fan of him. I heard conflicting opinions. Somebody even told me, they said he was a terrorist. I don't really know the history. All I'm gonna say is, you know, much respect to him for the work that he did do, starting the country and its independence, the work in SWAPO. You all know more than me, any details of what might have happened, any negative history, but I'm gonna just show my love and respect to start off the video. So rest in peace to the brother. Give you a quick little history of Namibia for those who don't know. Namibia ended up being colonized by the Germans first. They colonized from 1884 up until 1915. Then after Germany, South Africa's government took over. And just to be clear, because I had somebody in the comments talk about this, I'm not saying that the black South Africans colonized Namibia. I'm talking about the white colonizers, the Dutch, the Europeans who came to South Africa and took over. They are the ones who went and took over Namibia after Germany. They were under South Africa's rule up until 1990 when they got their independence, when Sam Nujoma became the first president. Obviously, since South Africa was running Namibia for a while, governing them, they got some similarities. It's almost like Namibia is South Africa's sister country. For instance, they both real big on bribe and drinking culture. It's very popular in both countries. Thank you. They both got a history of apartheid, again, obviously from that South African government. You can use South African rand and Namibian dollars in the country interchangeably. They have the same exact value. You can do that in Namibia, but not in South Africa. They're not taking any Namibian dollars, but if you're in Namibia, they would take either one and they're not gonna think twice about it. They also both have a population of colored people, which I did not know that until I came to Namibia. I thought colors only existed in South Africa, but again, that same government tried to enforce the same ideas and systems, so they tried to create a group of colored people in Namibia too. The only difference that I noticed, and it's a big difference, most of the colored people that I ran into, at least, that I met in Namibia, was not claiming to be colored. They weren't really necessarily proud of that label like I experienced in South Africa. Now, again, I'm not speaking for everybody. These are just the ones that I met. But time after time, I met Namibians who was like, yeah, they consider me to be colored, but I'm Nama. That's my tribe. Or I'm Herero. Or I'm Damara. They would always represent with whatever their tribe was. Or they would even say they was African before they would claim that they was colored. What's your tribe?
I'm Herero.
Okay.
He's from Bamboo tribe. Hereros, the ones that were colonized by Germans, we are looking like this because we were colonized by Germans.
Ah, so you mixed a little with the Germans a little bit. So do they consider you colored in Namibia?
I don't know where we fall.
Because I met a Damara woman, and she said that. She was like, they think I'm colored here, but she's a black woman. So she was like, I don't think I'm colored, but they classify me as that. I don't think so either. You an African woman.
I'm just African woman. I'm just a black woman.
Because of the Damara name, The hair type is not like mine.
Right.
That's the other problem. If you're Damara, then your hair, you show us baby's hair, the hair must be like that.
Okay. What you call Cruisy? You are native Namibian.
Yes.
Your mother and father Namibian.
Yes.
From what tribe?
We don't have tribes.
But y'all Damara, right?
We are Damaras, yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
So y'all are Damara. I'll let you explain it, but you say they classified you as colored
They
before?
classified me as colored before because of my color.
Because you're not as dark as your parents?
Yes.
Okay.
My parents are both black. And I've got this color.
But you a little lighter than them.
A little lighter than them.
Right.
My hair texture is little straighter than them. So that's why people think whenever I go, I'm a colored. And if I say that I'm a Damara, it's like they're looking at me funny because they say, no, you're not Damara. Damara is black.
Right.
And Damara can't have this hair. But as we were probably colonized by the Germans, something might have happened in the history that we don't know of.
Absolutely.
But for me, I'm an African and I'm a Damara.
True. So
100%.
so yeah, like most of the Namibians I spoke to, you represent with your tribe more than this classification of color.
Yeah.
And that's crazy to me because black people make every single color of people. So I've seen several dark people make babies that's lighter than both of the parents. That don't mean that the person is mixed or colored or anything. It's just a different shade because we come out all types of different colors. Because to your point, even if your parents was the same color, you don't know if both of their grandparents, like all your grandparents was that color, your great-grandparents.
Exactly. We don't know what happened in the past.
So yeah, you just might have took your color from one of your ancestors that wasn't as dark as all the rest of them.
Yeah, but if I say I'm a Damara, then person must respect.
Exactly.
Yeah. And if I say if I'm an African, the person must respect that.
Right.
That's all that I want.
So you saying it's times, because I know you said the people will do it, but then you just told me like even the government might, or what was you saying, the lady that just checked it off?
It was an essay at the college.
Okay.
Now I don't know what they were planning. Probably a cultural day or whatever they were planning, but we were set in different groups.
Right.
It was written African, it was written Kwezan, it was written colored, and then it was white. But there were actually no whites there. There was only one white lady. So my thing was already tick off, according to my appearance or according to my looks.
Right.
Already tick off, and she said that I'm colored. I already tick off. Then I said, but I belong to the group of the Africans, where the Africans are.
Yeah.
Because I'm in South Africa, I'm coming from Namibia, but I'm an African. So they don't have Damara there,
Right.
where they were making that categories.
Yeah.
So if there is no Damara, then I am African.
Which is crazy when you think about it, because at the end of the day, the Khoisan are definitely 100% African.
Yeah.
You Damara, and they tried to classify you as colored, but you 100% African. And then they had a classification of Africans, so they basically split one group of Africans into 3 groups, trying to divide us out. That's crazy, man.
In South Africa, I'm from Namibia, and actually South Africa was our, I don't know how to explain.
Like, not mother country, but like,
Yeah, like
sister country
sister
or
country,
something.
whatever.
Yeah, something like that.
For me, all of us there, I should say we're Africans.
That's what I've been hearing from every Namibian but one so far. And if it's any Namibians who feel different, comment and tell me. But so far, every other Namibian except for one young lady that I've spoken to said the exact same thing. They call me colored, but I'm actually Nama. Or they call me colored, but I'm an African woman, like the lady at the museum said. Or the Herrero sister that I met the other day said. So I see in South Africa, it seems that the colored population, they seem to have more pride in being classified as colored. But in Namibia, I see y'all be like, nah, that's what they say I am, but actually, like, my parents are this, I'm this. So I love that, man. And again, no disrespect at all to the colored people. This is not in any way trying to attack y'all, but I'm trying to have some understanding because it's so complicated and because there's so many differences with the mixes and everything. But I appreciate the insight, Wilma, because yeah, people need to know this, man. Like, they trying to separate y'all, and you all Africans at the end of the day.
We are Africans.
Same thing they did with us, with like the light skin and the dark skin and the house niggas and the field niggas. So, okay, appreciate you. And like I say, I didn't see that as much in South Africa. There was some pushback, because I know they did the same thing. Like in Namibia, they automatically tried to attach the Nama to being colored, even though they already are their own tribe with their own history and culture. They did the same thing in South Africa with the Khoisan, the Khoi, and the San people. They just off bat was like, oh, well, if you Khoi, if you San, you colored now. So they tried to do the same thing, but it didn't seem to take hold as much in Namibia, maybe because South Africa didn't control the country as long. But for whatever reason, I was happy to see that they had a lot more pride in whatever their actual tribe was. To speak on that real quick, I'm not going to go too deep into the history of colors and any information on that, because I went through it extensively in the South Africa video, so you can check. I'll put the card up in the video somewhere, either here or here. Just quickly, I'm gonna speak on it because I've had this debate with a few people, and you know, a lot of them try to say like, oh, you know, colored people are a tribe in Africa and this and that. But in my opinion, I would not call you all an African tribe, because let's be real, did the tribe of colored people exist before Europeans came? No, they didn't. Afrikaans, was that language spoken on the continent of Africa before the Europeans came? No, it wasn't. It's a dialect of Dutch that was brought to Namibia and South Africa by the Dutch colonizers. And of course, it, you know, changed. A couple words were added to it, pronunciations changed. That's like any dialect. But at the end of the day, it's still a European language. And it's the slogan in Afrikaans.
The slogan in Afrikaans would be, My Afrikaans, My Lieve Taal. I forgot the whole slogan. It was years ago.
Well, what is it in English?
In English would be My Afrikaans, my proud language. I learned this language, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Colored people is not a tribe. It's a classification that groups a bunch of different tribes and a bunch of different people with mixed backgrounds together. So I'm not trying to knock it in any way. I don't want to seem like I'm hating on y'all. I just believe in clarifying and speaking the truth. So it's a couple things I didn't know about Namibia. I didn't know a lot about it, but you know, I did my homework. But it wasn't until I actually got to the country when I started to learn some stuff that was interesting to me. Like, first of all, I didn't know the first concentration camps in the world was in Namibia. You know, in America, we taught Holocaust, genocide, concentration camps. You associate all that with the Nazis and the Jews. But apparently, the first concentration camps Germany ever made was in Namibia, in Africa. 30 years before the Jews had their Holocaust. So the first concentration camps ever in the world were not against the white Jews like we know it, like Auschwitz and all of that. It was actually in Namibia against mostly the Herero and the Nama. So at the end of the day, Germany's first genocide, or at least one of the most notable ones, is in Namibia, is in Africa. Which means that technically Namibia got it first, the Congo got it worse with King Leopold and all of that. But you gotta ask yourself, why is it that we only hear about the Holocaust with the Jews and Germans all the time, if more Africans died at the hands of King Leopold? And the original concentration camps where they got the ideas and the techniques and the technology all started in Africa. Why don't more people know that? Now, as similar as South Africa and Namibia are in some ways, it is a lot of things that is unique to Namibia. First of all, even though Namibia got several big cities just like South Africa, they got a more like small town vibe in my opinion, where, you know, once you get to know some people, it's not hard to see familiar faces, even though you're in a big city. I would say it's a little more peaceful in Namibia. I had somebody get upset when I mentioned this before, but it's just the truth. They don't have the same level of like gun violence in South Africa. And I'm not saying that to put South Africa down or act like it's super dangerous and you shouldn't go there, but it's just a reality again. Like, America has gun violence, South Africa also has gun violence. Probably not as much as America, but they definitely got way more than Namibia. From the people that I met in South Africa sending me videos, showing me crime and stuff that goes on, compared to my experience in Namibia and what the people in Namibia have showed me, it's night and day, man. Namibia is a much more laid-back, peaceful country, man. Like I say, it got more of a small-town vibe. The other thing is there's way less tourists in Namibia. Now, keep in mind, South Africa is a big tourist destination. Kenya, a little bit of Tanzania. If you're into African history, a little bit Ethiopia. Namibia is the first country I've been to over there so far that's not like a major destination for tourism, which means that I ain't really see too many Americans. And by too many, I mean like damn near none. I ran into one other American on the whole trip, this young lady that was actually out there about to marry a Namibian brother. So of course she was there for her man. Other than that, I was the only American the entire trip. So understandably, the people was a little more, I don't want to say excited, but I guess like interested, because they don't meet Americans face to face on a regular like in some other countries in Africa. South Africa, it's not uncommon for you to run into Americans, you know, they're not going to be as shocked about you being over there. It's still not, they're not going to meet Americans every day, but at the same time, it's much more common. Something that was interesting, I was hearing nigga on the radio in Namibia. Which that surprised me, because you don't really hear that in America, man. And I was hearing it in general on the streets pretty regularly. Now, I know some black Americans don't like that. It ain't really bothered me. I've spoken about this before. Like, if you consider yourself a nigga, we share similar histories, similar struggles. I don't really care if you say the words, to be honest. And I didn't feel any weird way about it in Namibia, because it seemed natural when they were saying it. It didn't seem like they was trying or forcing it. It's just how they were speaking. But hearing it on the radio is crazy. Something else that's unique to Namibia, now they have a thing of like hairy women. Like that's kind of normal or accepted over there. So there was a lot of women I ran into that had like hairy legs. You could tell they never shaved their legs, hair under their armpits, and a couple of them had hair under their chin, which I'm not really used to that. I'm not gonna knock it, you know. I show respect if that's part of our culture, but just understand where I come from. It's a little different. Again, I'm not opposed to it, because the women that know, once you start shaving, sometimes their hair grow back fast, it come back rougher, and coarse, and you be shaving non-stop. So if you got light hair on your leg, it ain't a big deal. But if it's thick, if your hair is thick as mine on your legs, that ain't really my style. That's a thing out there, if you into it. The other thing that's a big difference between South Africa and Namibia is their weed laws, which don't make no sense to me. If South Africa was running Namibia and governing them and in charge of their laws and all of that, I don't understand how they miss their beat when it comes to the weed law. Everything else is so similar, but then when it comes to that, Namibia still got the old-fashioned, like, I think they say you get 20 years if you get caught with weed there. And they consider weed to be like any other drug. So they very behind in terms of their mentality. I also made a video touching on that's a part of the series, just for y'all to have some better understanding. And hopefully change those weed laws sooner than later, man. Y'all gotta fix that for real. One of the things that I didn't like about Namibia, because I really enjoyed myself, man. It's one of my favorite countries in Africa so far. But I have to be real about the things I didn't like. One of the few things was racism, man, just like I encountered in South Africa. Now, it wasn't overt. I ain't have any white people calling me out my name or treating me crazy. But the fact that the majority of the land and the businesses in Namibia are still mostly owned by white people, either Germans or sometimes South Africans who've moved there, descendants of the Dutch. So a lot of the infrastructure, a lot of the economy, a lot of the land is still in the hands of the white people instead of the black Namibians. I heard several racist stories about people's experiences going to Swakopmund mostly, and how the white people would treat them out there and give them bad service and all of that. I didn't experience any there, but again, I was only there for like a couple days, so I didn't experience it. But more than one Namibian told me they didn't like the energy out that way. Going towards the coast, I heard a couple different areas, but specifically the coast, like Swakopmund and all of that.
That was apartheid on his best.
The part that's throwing me off, she said 98, but you said apartheid ended in 94.
94, we become independent in Namibia.
And 4 years later, it was
4
still
years
signs
later.
saying whites only.
Whites only. It was written in Afrikaans, and it was written blankes alleenlik.
So what year was it officially outlawed that they couldn't have any white only signs anymore? I thought it would have been when apartheid ended.
Exactly. 4 years later, that's what we have experienced.
Right.
We went to the saloon, we wanted to blow our hair. We read the sign on top of it. Like seriously, it's an independent country.
Right.
So we went in. The white lady came out and she said, whoa, whoa, whoa. You're not supposed to come in here. Then we asked why. No, because didn't you see the sign? Then I said, what about the sign in this independent Namibia?
Right. And that's 4 years after apartheid. That's crazy.
In Hendy's Bay, Namibia.
And then I gotta touch on what the brother said. The king just told me, like, he said it was signs that would be like Blanca, how you say?
Ni blanc and blanca.
Ni blanc and blanca, which means like white or non-white.
Yeah.
Which means that, again, they're clearly showing you, in their mind, it don't matter if you so-called colored, Khoisan, Damar, whatever you are, as long as you're not white, you're not allowed. So in their minds, you're not any better, really. You still classified as other than white, no matter how many little advantages they give you. So that's crazy to me, man.
Yeah.
That's what happened. But luckily, actually, we didn't go to a Henry's Bay that much, but we reported it.
Yeah.
The salon was closed.
That's good.
We reported it.
I like that. That's
Yeah.
good. Cause that's why I'm like, when did it officially end then?
And the lady actually refused. She refused. She said, "Go and do our hair."
But you know how I am. If that happened, you better off not getting your hair done that end. Cause if they don't want you there, they probably will mess your hair up anyway.
Message.
Exactly.
It's the same as like, they've been showing that a lot in America lately because it was Black History Month. It's a video of this brother going around like, we did all of this fighting and boycotting and protesting and sitting in just so we could eat at this white restaurant. And he was like, when I finally sat down and ate the meal, that was the worst food I ever had in my life, man. He was like, this is what we struggled and fought for. This food is nasty. So it's like, man, sometimes that might be God's way of protecting you. It's not for you. And that's in the Bible, low key. I believe it's in Proverbs. I don't know it word for word, but it's like, if you eat the meal of a person who don't have good intentions for you, you're gonna throw it up anyway. Exactly. So it's like you shouldn't even want that if they don't want it for you. Go where you welcome and loved, which is why I'm back in Namibia right now. So I can't get with that. It wasn't as bad as like Orania in South Africa, but somewhere along those lines, which is unacceptable to me anywhere in Africa. Also, I did experience a little bit of second-class treatment, but it was from other black people. It was when I went to some of the restaurants where I would sit down like I'm doing now, and I had to wait 10, almost 15 minutes just for somebody to acknowledge me and serve me, just to bring me a meal. And, sometimes you can be like, well, maybe I'm tripping, I might be jumping to a conclusion, maybe they distracted. But no, this happened to me twice. Once at Fresh and Wild Utopia, and another time at Butcher's Block. Now, Fresh and Wild was probably the worst because I came in, sat down, there's no other customers there. It was one group of white people that left as I came in. So it's completely empty. At least 2 or 3 times the waiters came by cleaning up after the white people who left. They saw me, made eye contact, never said nothing to me, never brought me a menu. So I just sat and waited. And after 10 minutes, I'm like, man, I think I'm gonna just leave. All of a sudden, a white guy came in. He went, sat down at his table. Within 60 seconds, they came, gave him a menu. How you doing, sir? How can I help you? Would you like to start off with drinks? Meanwhile, I still been sitting at my table for 15 minutes with crickets. So I definitely saw the double standard. I saw the treatment where the black folks would be, we call it shucking and jiving, like, how can I help you, boss? Cooning basically. And it happened again at another restaurant, like I said, Butcher's Block. But I ended up talking to one of the waiters, a black guy. He was like, yeah, I do the same thing because a lot of times the black people will come in and they'll be like, oh, run, fetch me this and get me that and hurry up. And they have all these orders and then you don't get nothing at the end of the day. They're not tipping you anything. So I told him I understand that, but at the end of the day, one, you don't know who you serve. So for you to treat me like that and just ignore me and disregard me just because I'm not white, you missing out on money, man, because I come from a country where tipping is customary, especially if you give good service. Now, it's not mandatory, but I'm going to typically do it if you pretty decent. But if you ignore me and I got to, make an effort to get your attention and I see you run into the white people at the drop of a dime, I'm not going to tip you nothing. And I had to do that 2 different times with young ladies who just basically acted like they deserved the tip, like they just knew I was going to give them it. One girl actually stood over my shoulder as I was counting out the money to pay. And while I'm getting the change together, she just watching. And she's like, you might as well just give me the whole thing. And it's like, what? How you going to tell me what to tip you? The other chick at Butcher's Block just refused to bring me my change. She just took my money and never came back. So we waited a while, and then eventually I got her attention, like, where's my, where my change? Oh, I thought that was all for me. It's It's like, not all of that, lady. Like, she took a decent sized tip. It wasn't just a couple of dollars. She took a lot of my money. So I made her bring the change. And then when I counted the change, it still wasn't all my money. She still took a little bit out. So the fact that I had to ask for my change, not 2 but 3 different times just to get all my money back. I know maybe y'all not as familiar with gratuity and tipping culture since it's not as common in your country, but it is common in my country, and that's not the way you do it, man. You don't demand a tip from somebody. You don't even expect it, and you damn sure don't try to force it out of them, which is why I didn't give neither one of them anything. So that would be a big issue for me. That's not everywhere, but I definitely encountered more than once black people giving me lower quality service because they just assume like, oh, you black, you ain't gonna tip, let me run to these white folks. So I ain't a fan of that. It's been a lot of things changing in Namibia recently, just in the last few months since I've been there. First of all, like I told you earlier, the first president, Sam Nujoma, died, rest in peace again. Then they got their first woman president of Namibia ever. Shout out to, and excuse me if I pronounce her name wrong, but Netumbo Nandi Ndaitwah. So shout out to the queen, you know what I'm saying? Not only did they get their first female president, but now the top 3 government positions in Namibia are all held by women. And over 60% of Namibia's ministers are all women now. So women are really running things, man, starting in the year 2025 in Namibia. A beautiful thing that I've seen her do, which she moving quick, kind of like Trump, but in a lot of good ways. One, she took control of the oil reserves in Namibia. Now it's Namibians controlling their natural resources, similar to what Ibrahim Traore is doing in Burkina Faso. You know, shout out to the brother, much respect to him. I really want to go visit them with all the things he's doing. But it seems like she's moving in a similar spirit. She's been demanding reparations from Germany, and she did something which really is going to affect me. She ended visa-free entry for Americans. So now I got to update y'all, because in the first episode I told y'all like, oh, you don't need no visa, all you need is a passport. That has changed now, man, just in a few months since I visited. So I don't know any specifications because I was lucky enough to go right before she changed it. But now you have to apply for a visa if you're American and want to visit Namibia. So as much as that's annoying to me, because that's an extra step and extra money I gotta pay, like I said at the bride, it's fair. It's only right. If it's hard for y'all to come to my country, it should be harder for us to come to yours. So it is what it is. But shout out to the queen for making some advancements that's gonna help the country. The visa requirement starts April 1st. So anybody going to Namibia after April 1st, 2025, you gotta apply for a visa now, coming from America. So now it's time to do the rating, give y'all my opinion on everything. First is the food. Now with the food in Namibia, I'm gonna give it a 7.5, man. Some pretty good meals. You know, they big on the kapana and the salsa. Tried my first mopani one, it wasn't bad. My only complaint, and this is a personal thing, it wasn't that the food was bad, but it's too much meat, man. Y'all are heavy on braai and meat and kapana and biltong and all of that, and I don't really eat meat like that. So it's kind of difficult to avoid it, you know, if you're vegetarian or you plant-based like me. You got some options, but it's not a whole lot of options. You gotta kind of search them out. And to be honest, I don't want to preach to y'all, but I see that reflecting in the health of a lot of Namibians I met, man. A lot of y'all health concerns seem to correlate with the diet of eating a whole lot of meat and starch and not a lot of fruit and veggies. And I'll just use the former president as an example. He passed away right after getting a colonoscopy, which means, again, that's tied to his diet and what he was eating. So that's something I hope y'all work on. I met one vegan out there. Shout out to my nigga Donovan. But it ain't a big vegetarian vegan culture at all. As far as the weather, I give it an 8. I really did like the weather in Namibia, low key. I don't have no complaints, man. Wasn't too hot for me, never really got super cold. A lot of Namibians was complaining, saying it was too hot, but that was nothing compared to like the hottest days in Chicago in the summertime. So I really enjoyed it, especially considering that it's a desert. I expected it to be way hotter. So when we went to the coast, we stopped on the way. That was probably the hottest weather I experienced, and it was baking, but it still wasn't nothing I couldn't handle. So for me, it was nice. And then it was like light desert rain. The times it would rain, it wouldn't last too long. It'd be a few minutes, it'd sprinkle and then go away. So I'm thinking like, okay, weather is great. But then once I left, that's when I realized, and if I can, I'll include some videos in here to show y'all.
Many streets were flooded and motorists had to make use of alternative routes. This is Kingfisher Road in Hockland Park and was one of the roads that was flooded, with some cars almost swept away.
Current situation in Windhoek.
but a lot of Namibians were showing me like, oh man, it's been flooding here, the rain's been coming. So apparently when it rains there, it rains bad, like heavy for many days, and it'll wash away like neighborhoods and sweeping cars off the road. It gets dangerous out there. So that's the only complaint I would say about the weather, but that's a big one because depending on where you live, like the floods could really mess up your whole life, sweep your whole house away. And then my other concern with the weather is like, if I was to move there and live there for good, I don't know what all I can grow in the Namibian, since they have periods of the year where they don't get a lot of rainfall. It might be a little restrictive, and that's an issue for me because I want to be able to plant, you know, damn near everything. Then we got the people of Namibia, man. I really, really love the people in Namibia, man. I met some dope, great, interesting, creative, talented people out there. But I'm gonna give y'all an 8 in terms of the people, and the only points I'm taking off is 1 because of the racist white folks that live there, and then I'm gonna take another point off just for the people that I mentioned before, man. The waiters and waitresses who give you bad service, who stereotype you because you black and they black themselves, who expect a tip or damn near demand it. So it's like I did see a little of that type of energy and attitude out there, but for the most part, most of the people were super cool, very welcoming and inviting. I really don't have too many complaints at all. The prices, I'm gonna say like a 7.5. Of course, most of the prices for stuff in Namibia was cheaper than in America, but it was still higher than most other African countries. It's again very similar to the prices in South Africa. So for the most part, you know, you're not spending as much as you would on food and clothes and certain things like you would in America. But then for instance, going to Swakopmund, getting hotels out there was crazy expensive. And even all the activities to go see where the ocean meets the sand, to do the quad and sand, but that stuff was really high. I understand now why a lot of them was like, I've never been to the coast because it costs a lot of money to go out there. Yeah, I say like 7.5. Some things gonna be cheap, but if you don't pay attention, you can spend a lot of money out there. Now the activities, let me get the activities of 7.5 too. Now it is a lot of things to do in Namibia, don't get me wrong. From Windhoek to Swakopmund, it's a whole lot of activities, it's a lot of sights to see. But on the coast, I would say the activities are kind of limited. In my opinion, one weekend, that's enough. 3 days, you can see pretty much everything it is to see out there. And it's expensive again, so that's not a plus. And then as far as Windhoek, I feel like it was a lot more to do, a lot more to see. There was a lot of activities going on, the Kapana Festival, finals. It was a nice little scene for artists and all type of stuff you could get into. But being from the city that I'm from, Chicago, it's a very big city. The population of our city is about the same as the population of the whole country in Namibia. It's around 3 million people. So just knowing that, I could see myself maybe running out of things to do, but it would take some time, probably after a few months. But just being from the type of city I'm from, I would probably exhaust most of the things I would be interested in Windhoek too after a while. But yeah, definitely a lot of activities. It ain't all for me, like I say, because at the coast, you could do the quads, you could go sandboarding, slide down the sand hills. I believe you can like skydive maybe. You can go see the seals and the flamingos and Walvis Bay. You can go visit the waterfalls in Ipupa Falls. You could go to, I think it's called Dead Fillet. That's where they had all of the fossilized trees. So it's things to do. That just wasn't anything that really interested me. I know you can go visit where the ocean meets the desert. They got a bunch of different things you could do, but like I say, it's not cheap, and a lot of it just wasn't up my alley. It wasn't for me, so it depends on what you're into. The last thing is the infrastructure. Now, the infrastructure was pretty good. I'm gonna get that an 8.5. Now, unfortunately, in a lot of ways, it was a very German country, from the names, Windhoek, Swakopmund, you know what I'm saying? The street names, pretty much everything was in German. The building design, the architecture was all German. So that was the most German country I've been to outside of Germany itself. But in terms of like the infrastructure, the internet, the roads, pretty much everything seemed good in the areas I was in. I don't have any complaints. The only downside I would say was the flooding that I talked about earlier. Now I didn't experience it firsthand, but from the videos I saw and the Namibians telling me, the flooding can get really bad, I guess, in the rainy season. outside of that, everything else was on point, man. Even the police was pretty decent, which again, I'm sure some bad ones, but overall, they were a little more peaceful. They were more into conflict resolution instead of just showing up and ready to beat people up or shoot somebody or arrest them. So I'd say 8.5, damn near on the level of America, basically. Altogether, I have to rate Namibia 7.83 out of 10, which is pretty good, man. It's higher than London, higher than a lot of countries. I had to take a couple points off here and there, but overall, excellent country. I highly recommend it, especially for Black Americans. I think it's a great idea. In terms of your introduction into Africa, I think that would be a great one. South Africa would be an easy transition. Namibia would be an easy transition because the infrastructure is so similar to ours. So many people speak English, and just because they so nice, man, welcoming. It's such a beautiful country. You're not gonna have to probably deal with too much stress, especially if you coming over there with good energy, with the right intentions. You know what I'm saying? If you good people, you probably gonna run into good people there, and they're gonna be good to you. So if you can, make a trip, take your ass out there to Namibia, man. Lastly, I'm gonna give my shout outs. Now, first and foremost, without a doubt, I gotta say much love and many thanks to the family, to Wilma's family. Shout out to Wilma, Apostle Luddick, the king, the man of the house. Shout out to Shaz. Big shout out to Janae, because you know you was my introduction to the family in the first place. And shout out to Lancy, man, for taking me out, showing me a good time, and let me see the nightlife in Namibia. I appreciate you. Of course, shout out to all the plugs. It's too many for me to name, but every brother I ran into out there that had the fire. Big shout out to my boy Dooley. Shout out to Blink, Utah, and everybody that I met in Zoo Park. It's way too many of y'all to name everybody, so I'm gonna forget somebody. But if I met you, we linked, we smoked, we kicked it. Shout out to you. Big shout out to Libertine, Lino, my brother, what's the word? Shout out to Junior. Big shout out to Swan, Mino, Rachel, Poncho, and everybody that I met in Vinyl. Man, again, it's way too many of y'all. But everybody I kicked it with, their karaoke nights, a lot of cool people in Vinyls, man. Much love. Godfrey, Johnny, Donald. What's up to Lorenzo? Shout out to my boy Donovan, my twin, my brother from another mother, you know what I'm saying? Big special shout out to Saki and Sixer, the brothers that took me out again on the nightlife, and also was the first Namibian I ever met with Saki. He's the first one who invited me to the country, so much love to you. I'm glad we finally got to link, had a good time with y'all at Club Temperature. Appreciate y'all for taking me out. Much love to Emma, Donna, Kelvin, and the whole shoe store, everybody I met at that store. Much love to Aina, special shout out to you, and a big shout out to Sharifa, but both the Sharifas. Much love to the Sharifa that I met at Food Lovers and the Sharifa I met in Meru Mall. Now, excuse me if I mess your name up, but much love to Twinde and Deshimona, and much love, big special shout out to Malika and everybody else that I met at the markets, the Saturday and Sunday markets, man. Much love to y'all. It was good meeting everybody. Hopefully I get to kick it with y'all again. And then I gotta say much love and thank you to Amakwe, Taikwe, Patience, and Afaina. I also gotta give a big shout out and special thanks to Sandra's Got Voice. I gotta show her some love. One, for supporting, always showing love, but also cause I remember you reached out, you asked me could I give a little like apartment tour, and I tried to set it up. I actually had a young lady who was gonna show me something on the lower end that's a little cheaper, and then I was gonna show you like the higher end to show the contrast so you can compare. But then the young lady rented out all of her rooms, so I wasn't able to view the cheaper one anymore. And if I can't do it how I want to do it, if it ain't gonna be right to me, then I don't want to do it at all. So I didn't forget about you. I want to just thank you again because that's a great idea. I think I might start incorporating that in the future, but I just wasn't able to make it happen this time. I apologize, but thanks again and much love to you. And then another special shout out to Osiris Child, another subscriber, man, who's been rocking with me consistently. Also check out his channel because he got some dope content on there too. I see you, my brother. He was one of the first people who reached out trying to make a donation to the school in episode 23. So much love to Osiris Child and everybody else reaching out, trying to connect with Wilma to make some donations, trying to help. And I gotta say this much love to everybody in general who's been showing me love and who's been donating, man, hitting that cash out. It's much appreciated. I can't do this without some kind of money. Now, I'm never gonna come to y'all on some donate to the channel, begging for money with my hand out. I'm not into that. I'm happy to fund all of this myself. But it is costly. It ain't cheap. So I gotta say much love and a special thanks to everybody who been donating, man. Sending money on the Cash App, super chats, the super stickers, any contribution you making, I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart, man. Much love. You the reason I keep going, so thank you. And that's about it, man. So I really enjoyed my trip. I don't have too many complaints, as I said. I'm definitely gonna go back again. That's actually the quickest I ever returned to an African country, man. I went in November and went right back again in February. But it's because I loved it, and it was because it was so easy to get in without the visa at the time. Now that's over with, so got my little ghetto blessing. I got grandfathered in right before they started making it harder for us. But I just want to say, man, shout out again to everybody I met. Y'all got a beautiful country, beautiful people, real peaceful, good vibes, a lot of talent, and I can't wait to come back, man. So until then, I'm going to keep representing over here on my side. And for the next video, I'm going to see y'all actually right here in Chicago. That's gonna be the next one, since so many Africans been asking, like, what's it like in America, what it look like in your city. The next series is gonna show y'all that. I'm gonna focus on summertime in Chicago at the crib. Can't wait to get started, and until then, man, much love. See y'all when I see y'all. Peace.